The fifth question over here. How does the adventure come to an end? Now, if you pay attention to the last paragraph of this synopsis, we know that what happens to each and every member of the family. If you recall, Elizabeth and her husband, that is William Robinson, they decided to stay back on the island. Jenny, of course, declared that she'll be going back. Fritz responded first because he wanted to marry her and he left along with her. And then we have the youngest son, Franz, who wanted to leave along with his brother Fritz because he wanted to receive an academic education. Then we have the two other brothers, that is Ernest and Jack, and they decided to stay on the island along with their parents. So we know that it was a happy ending, and we'll write down that the adventure comes to a happy end as Fritz and Franz and Jenny go back to Europe with the ship and its crew. The other family members, William, Elizabeth, Jack and Ernest, decide to continue living on the island. While leaving, Fritz expresses his wish to marry Jenny too. Now moving ahead to the next question. Who was the victim and how long had she survived? Now if you remember from the story, the woman who was stranded on a smoking rock, which was referred to an island maybe with a volcano, here we have her name. That is, Fritz was successful in rescuing the young woman Jenny Montrose. And later on, she was found after nearly 3 years. He believed his daughter was still alive after 3 years. So this indicated that she was maybe stranded for over 3 years. So we'll write our answer that the victim was the young English woman Jenny Montrose, and she had survived for 3 years. Now moving ahead. Who is included in the word everyone in everyone was amazed? Now firstly, we have to recall from the story, we have the crew members of the ship, and they were amazed that all the family members had survived on the island. Jenny had survived for over 3 years, and we have the other family members who were living on the island for over 10 years. So we'll write down that everyone in everyone was amazed refers to the passengers and the crew members of the English ship. Now moving ahead to the next question. Here we have to write in your own words how the Robinson family made each of their homes. So now we'll talk about the first home that they made. The minute they reached the tropical island, they set up a tent. So that's their first home, and we'll describe how they made it comfortable by spreading out armloads of grass. Their first home was a tent which they built up by softening the floor with armloads of grass. They cut grass and spread it to serve as their beds. Now if we talk about the second home, if you remember, it was a tree house, and when it was at a height, they had even built a ladder using bamboo poles. So we'll write down the second home. Their second home was a tree house which they built by using long and extended branches of a tree. These branches were used as platforms, and they also created a ladder out of bamboos. Now moving ahead to the third home that they built, which was actually in a cave. And if you remember, they had used tools to build a house inside the cave. They had used axes, chisels, hammers, shovels. So these are the different tools that they had used. So we'll write down their third home was a cave house, which they created by making or opening a smooth face on the rock. They cut the windows in rock for ventilation and for sunlight. Now we'll talk about the fourth house which they built. Now if you remember, one of their hut was destroyed, their cultivated land was destroyed because of a herd of elephants. And then we know they decided to build a fourth house not by using stilts but by using 4 trees that were growing properly in a square near one another, and they would use those trees as a foundation, as a platform. So here we describe the fourth home. Since one of the huts had been made was destroyed by an elephant herd, they decided to build a stronger house using 4 strong trees as a base. Rather than building a house on stilts, which the elephants could knock down very easily, the 4 trees were of equal size, approximately 12 feet apart, and this was a much safer home for them.